welcome to the first episode of Etc. I'm your host, Grant Freaks, with...
Start over. Don't say I'm your host. Come on. Welcome to the very first episode of Etc. with myself, Jonah Jungu, and
Grant Freaks. All right, we're going to start off just by introducing ourselves a little bit. As I said, I'm Grant. I'm a junior at Prairie Ridge High School. I'm interested in finance, economics, and I'd say my favorite sport is baseball. What about you, Jonah?
Yep. So myself as well. I'm a junior at PR. I'd say my interests include. I'm definitely interested in sports. I don't play any sports, but I definitely still have a love for sports. It's definitely something I've always been interested in, and probably where hopefully I'll end up going with my career path. Hopefully, if our intended audience is reached, you guys both know a little bit about us already. So I think it'd be great. It's been a long time coming getting this going, and a couple months in the making to get this all rolled out. But
Yeah, absolutely. I know we've known each other for quite a while, and this has definitely been something that we've been talking about, I'd say, for years, and then actually bringing it together has been a couple months in the works. So we're going to start off. Jonah, do you want to kind of talk about just your outlook and your experience during this whole COVID pandemic and what that's been like as a student, trying to take classes and also just working around your social life and just, at the same time trying to be a kid during, a global pandemic?
yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, obviously, if you think back to March 13th last year, I just remember the energy at school being like everyone just finding out that the next week we're going to have off, extended spring break, everyone just being excited. And just looking back on that, I just think it's crazy how much we took for granted of life before this all started. I mean, you look back at the spring, school was pretty relaxed, not much. Teachers didn't ask much of us in the classrooms. But then, I mean, we missed out on, for the seniors last year, like the baseball season, missed out on the baseball season. Lacrosse missed out, all those spring sports, missed out on their senior prom, and didn't have a real graduation. And over the summer, graduation parties were completely different. A lot of people weren't able to have those. So I think it's just been a long time. I think everyone is kind of just tired out. And then coming into the fall was definitely, it was good to get back into a good routine, I guess. But definitely still missed out on a lot. I mean, in the fall, no football season, no homecoming, just a lot of things that are like a principle of being in high school, being a high school student that I think we missed out on. It's been good this semester to get back in the classroom a little bit, a couple days a week. I know both you and I were in 0 hours, so it's been good to get up, get a morning lift in before school. That's always good. Can't go wrong with that. But yeah, I think we're getting used to it. Hopefully, we'll end up back to normal as we can get somewhat soon. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like how you brought up taking things for granted. I remember when we found out that we were probably going to be, doing school from home for the rest of the second semester last year. I was excited because, what student doesn't want to break from school? But especially as I've gotten into my junior year and I've been basically home, for first semester, second semester. Luckily, we're starting to get back in the classroom a couple of days a week. But I've realized how much I took for granted. Like even little things, just like talking to your friends in the hallway, walking to your next class. Like when you're doing that in the moment, it doesn't seem like much, but when you're at home staring at a screen in a 5-minute passing period, or just looking at your phone for 5 minutes before you go log on your next Zoom class, you miss human interaction. And yeah, so I definitely agree that we've taken things for granted, and I'm looking forward in terms of hopefully when things get back to normal, I'm going to appreciate my time in high school more and realize that it's not going to last forever. So I may as well, take in, friendships, fun moments, sports, extracurriculars while it lasts, because it's definitely not going to be here forever. So kind of pivoting, like, how would you say, because obviously the whole quarantining and the pandemic has completely, lopsided how people, social lives, like you haven't necessarily been able to hang out with people as much. So like, how have you coped with that? And like, what are some things you've started to do to kind of make up for this lack of like social interaction that we all miss so much?
Yeah. So I mean, over the summer, I spent way more time outside than I was used to, which was awesome. I That's probably one of the main, if not only, positives that's come out of the situation. Um, Kind of found a love for fishing. I think both
Absolutely.
of us did. We
Yeah, for
definitely
sure.
kind of figured out that that's something we really enjoy doing. Spent probably a little bit too much money on it over the summer, but
It's all
you live
good.
and you learn.
Sure.
And I think that's been really good. I was able to connect with a couple different people, able to meet up at a pond here or there, and just go fishing for a couple hours over the summer. Um, Definitely, since I wasn't able to hang out with as many people as much, I definitely think I formed closer bonds with like certain groups of people, like certain
Yeah.
friends that I wasn't as close with before. So that was good. Definitely, there are definitely positives that have come out of it. As far as like coping, I obviously like fishing over the summer. I'd say was kind of my coping mechanism. If I wasn't working, I was outside almost what seemed like all summer. Um, and then once school started, um, I don't know. School did not go well at all first semester.
You're definitely
Um,
not alone there.
yeah, I think a lot of people can relate. But I'd say as far as coping, it was being involved as much as you can was definitely good for me. I mean, I'm in Mads at school, so having that group, I mean, it's a great group of kids. It was something, even when we weren't at school in person for like during the day, we were able to still have in person rehearsals, for a while at least, and then obviously everything went full remote. But so just having that group of people, and then like the musical started. It's been a great experience so far. Just having groups of people that you can always count on, people that you know are involved in the same things as you, and just staying involved as much as possible. I know it being involved in extracurriculars at school looked definitely a little bit different this year, but
Yeah.
just doing your best to keep busy during that time is definitely important.
Yeah,
What about you?
I agree. In terms of my summer, despite the pandemic going on, I actually it felt like a relatively normal summer to me. Like you said, we fished a lot. That was great. Definitely a new hobby that I'll hopefully enjoy for many years to come. And then I got my first job over the summer. I worked at Mariano's. You know that you work there too. We
Yep.
both quit.
Glad we don't work there anymore.
All right, that's a story for another time. But so as much besides like wearing masks and of course abiding the social distancing, I still felt kind of like a relatively normal teenager. Going to work, having fun while I could, still working hard, making money, fishing, like you said. So the summer was great. I think, like you said, being outside a lot helped because you were able to hang out with people outside and still social distance and still have a good time. But as soon as the school year started, that was when it kind of went downhill. You're a junior in high school too. This is definitely the hardest year for high schoolers by far. You got standardized testing, you got colleges, you're thinking about all that sort of stuff. You're usually taking the most AP classes you've ever had. I know I am, and it's I wouldn't necessarily say that academic load. I mean, aside from it being junior year, I wouldn't say it's harder learning from home than it is from learning in school in terms of the classwork. But not having that teacher student relationship where you can just easily ask them questions and get that quick answer and actually learn, that's definitely been a problem. And aside from it being harder to like have relationships with your teachers and be able to fully grasp the material, I think the hardest part for me has just been being cooped up inside all day. Like you wake up 1 minute before class, you hop up on your Chromebook, you join Zoom, you do Zoom for a couple hours, you're on the screen all day, and then you log off when the day's over. You might do something fun for an hour, hour and a half, but then it's right back to homework and then back to sleep, and it's a full cycle over again. So it's definitely been hard for me. And my social relationships, I've definitely, like you said, gotten closer with a few people and have definitely formed great relationships with them. Like you know this, my friend and I formed the investment club this year with Mr. Siren, great guy. We've had a lot of fun. it's um, it's always great to do something that you're passionate about, like you said, being involved. It's even better when it's something that you really care about. So that's been nice. There's been ups and downs, but I definitely say the biggest down is just kind of being alone in your room all day on the computer. You just don't feel like you're in high school. So, what would you say? I know we're both huge fans of music. How is, I don't know about you, but I've definitely started listening to music like a lot more. Like my music listening is like risen exponentially during the pandemic. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm just trying to think of like if you remember like the Spotify Rewind or
Yeah.
Wrapped, whatever came out.
Okay.
Like looking back at that, it was pretty cool to see. Like, I mean, we were just cooped up inside for so long, so many hours at a time, so many days, weeks, months at a time. It's kind of cool to go back and look at like how different my taste in music was over the course of the year. I mean, at the top is always it's was definitely like hip hop dominated,
Yeah.
hip hop and like rap. But I mean, over the summer, like I started listening to some country music like Luke Combs, and that's like a year ago
Yeah.
before the pandemic. Me listening to Luke Combs is like not something I ever in a million years would have thought of.
Yeah, who would have known?
But I definitely just branched out a little bit. Um, Found some new stuff, listened to some old music that I used to love. I mean, there's a bunch of good music from 70s, 80s, 90s, and so on. Um, but yeah, definitely. Um, and I think this conversation kind of lends itself well into. I guess I can let you go too, but this kind of lends itself well into talking about our song of the week, which is that's gonna be just to kind of explain. It's gonna be a weekly segment that we'll have. Just kind of talking about our song of the week, at what we're listening to at the moment. Hopefully, we'll try to switch it up every week. But I think for me, I honestly this was kind of my song of the year of 2020. Um, I definitely listened to a lot of Khalid music. He has a ton of
Yeah.
good albums, a lot of good music. I'd say probably my song of the year. I guess the segment is song of the week, but I'll just for this one, I guess it was my song of the year. It's probably Out of My Head by Khalid. Great song. It's off his Free Spirit album with John Mayer. I don't know. That's always been a song that I've really enjoyed listening to, and yeah. So, what about yourself? Sorry, I spoke for a while there, but
No,
just overall song of the week, and then how your music listening taste was in 2020.
no, I know what you're saying. First of all, I'd like to say during the pandemic, I've listened to music a lot more. And I don't even know if that's necessarily attributed to the pandemic. I'm sure it has some role in it. But since middle school on to high school, I've definitely started listening to music more and developing my own taste in what I like. Like I remember before middle school, I didn't even really listen to music at all. And now I can't imagine, going a day without listening to music. You can't do homework without listening to music. So, but I think my song of the week is "Life Is Good" by Future, and Drake's also featured on it. That's been something I've been listening to a lot this week. It's just it's just a nice hype song. And whenever you're down or whenever you need motivation to do that assignment or something that you don't have the energy for, um, Drake's there for you. I guess I'm saying, or am I kind of
Yeah, no, I
sounding?
definitely understand.
But yeah, also I think music has also been a big role in me for celebrating successes or like basically just being happy in a time where it's hard to be happy. Like I've basically been focused mainly on school this year because that's all there is. We're just cooped up in our houses doing Zoom. So grades, of course, have been a huge pressure, and there's a lot of stress attributed to that. So whenever something good happens, I'm definitely not afraid to get excited. So listening to music, it's I'm definitely not afraid to dance. Definitely alone in my room though. Not going to show people my dancing skills, although they're
Of
quite
of
excellent.
course.
But I don't want
I
to,
believe you,
I don't
100%.
want to intimidate anyone. They're just too good. But I think that's human though. Like I'm sure I'll regret admitting what I just said later, but I can't be the only one who, listens to music and like expresses themselves. Like I think that's a human thing. And I know high schoolers definitely aren't vulnerable about, expressing their emotions and being open about their thoughts and their feelings. But I think music's a huge part in just helping you like express your emotions. And I think that's like especially important this time. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just definitely as far as like, it's a great way to just kind of keep in touch with your emotions. A lot of time, like I felt myself, grades definitely went well for you first semester, not so great for me. So that was pretty stressful. And I just remember like could always just listen to music, and like if you get too stressed, sometimes it just becomes overwhelming and you can't handle it.
Yeah,
And I definitely just think music is like, if like you get down and you just, like you said, listen to a hype song, it just hypes you up and gets you back in a
exactly.
good mood. And I don't think it's healthy to just keep those feeling down. That's like
Yeah,
keeping that kept inside. That's not, I don't know, especially as teenagers when, I mean, we're still growing and we're, like you said, like we don't like to be vulnerable, but we are. And
yeah, it's important.
um it's very important to keep that, I don't know, just keep positive energy. Granted, there's times where sometimes you just want to listen to, I don't know, a depressing song that there there's
Some
times
people,
where it's like that.
yeah.
Um but yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's so many different kinds of music, like we talked about, like getting into country somehow. Just there's something different for every mood you're in, and I definitely think it's good to just use music to keep in touch with your emotions, and I don't know, just keep your, I don't know. I think you get
Yeah,
me.
I know what you're saying. And I think I'm gonna take this, just about trying to be yourself and, being in tune with your emotions. Like, I think a lot of high schoolers, especially juniors, need to hear this. Like, there's tons of people who do absolutely amazing in school and they got that figured out, and, good for them. But I think something people need to hear is that like school isn't everything. Like in a couple years, we're all going to be off to college. We're going to be doing our own things, and that's the real world. You can do whatever you want to do. So, like, just remember, I'm not saying school is not important, but make sure to pursue things you're passionate about. Like, try to learn just as much about things you're learning, like in physics, is something you're passionate about. Like, I think people get so focused on grades and GPA and SAT, ACT scores that like that's not everything. Like it's important to be happy, and success sure can lend itself to happiness, but success can be described in many different ways. It's not all about school. It's about your relationships with your family, your passions. Like if you're happy as a person, if you're happy with yourself. So yes, school is important, but also please make sure, enjoy yourself. You're only going to be in high school for so long. You're never going to get these years back. So just make sure to enjoy life while you have it, because grades aren't everything. So they were going to take that and pivot into something where we were both passionate about and what we both enjoy, both watching, and we both played in the past. Sports are probably a huge part of our lives. Kind of talk about to me what sports mean for you, Jonah.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up. I've always been a huge football fan. I mean, I'm a Vikings fan. I think most people know that. People
Yeah,
probably get the idea.
I'd assume so.
Um, yeah, and I mean, so I've been into football since I was, I mean, as long as I can remember. I remember the 2009 NFC Championship game. I was, what, 5 years old, crying myself to sleep after the Brett Favre interception. Most people have zero clue what I'm talking about, but I mean, the fact that things like that from 2009 are like ingrained into my brain, that, I mean, I think that just kind of speaks as to how much of an impact sports have played on my life. It's definitely something always been interested in. I played football when I starting in like when I was 5, played flag football and then tackle football for 5-6 years. And I was into baseball around the same time. Played baseball up until after my freshman year. Then I think I kind of switched directions, got involved in the arts a lot in high school, but so kind of shifted away from baseball. But I definitely still have a love for the game. Definitely still have a love for football as well. I played a little bit of basketball in middle school, pretty bad,
I
like
remember
awful.
playing you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not fun to watch, but
You were fine. You were good at defense. I remember that.
okay, I'll take it.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, and then I think that's kind of transferred in. Like I've throughout my entire life, sports have always been like the one thing I've always had like a common interest in.
Yeah.
And I think like approaching like adulthood and where I got to go next after high school, I think it only makes sense to do something in that field. So yeah, I'm definitely looking at like sports management career paths.
Yeah.
I think that would be
Nice.
really good for me. I definitely think it just makes sense. It makes too much sense for me to not try to pursue that as a career. Then there's so many opportunities. There's so many different lanes I can take it. I've always wanted to be an agent, but if that's not the path I end up on, I mean, there's so many different opportunities. And yeah, I think sports have always played an impact in my life, and I definitely want them to continue to play an impact in my life.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what about yourself?
Yeah, I definitely sports, huge part of my life. Baseball is definitely the sport I'm more passionate about. I know football is yours. I definitely still enjoy watching basketball, football, but baseball is the thing I enjoy the most. I play baseball. I'm currently on the varsity baseball team, and I love watching it. I'm a Cubs fan. That's going to be very hard this year. It's depressing. We can't talk about it. I'll start to cry. But I remember like you talked about 2009. I remember in 2016 when the Cubs won the World Series.
I went to
Probably,
bed.
yeah, you probably regret that, don't you? I'm
A little
always
bit.
gonna hold. I'm always gonna hold that against you. I remember watching every single playoff game, no matter how late it went, watching every single game of the World Series. And my grandpa, who's a huge Cubs fan too, he's the one who actually converted me to a Cubs fan. Everyone else in my family is a Sox fan, as you know. So I'm not very liked around the household, but that's okay.
There's other
So,
reasons too.
all right. Also, several stories for another time. So, my grandpa and I would text during the games, just talking about what's going on, our thoughts, expressing excitement for or disappointment for what's going on. And I remember texting during Game 7 of the World Series, by far the most exciting game I've ever watched in my life. I went to extra innings. Yeah, that game is just something I'm never gonna forget. Definitely one of my greatest sports memories of all time. I think that's the great thing about sports is it brings people together. It's something people can come around and support one thing. I always think it's a beautiful thing when people can always forget their differences and just actually agree on something, whether or not that's just, being mad at a ref for a bad call, which happens all the time in football, which is one of my pet peeves. I'm sure we'll talk about that further down the road. So yeah, for me to have to be the Cubs 2016 World Series, that kind of describes that puts into perspective my experience with sports and why I love it so much. In terms of playing baseball farther down the road, I'm not too sure if I'm going to pursue that in the college or not. No matter what happens, I'm still gonna love the sport, watch it for the rest of my life. But now I think this is a great time to transition into another segment we have. It's called Player Profile, which is where each of us kind of talk about a player who's had a standout week, who's doing something notable that we want to give credit to and just talk about. So, Jonah, why don't you start us off here?
Yeah, so I'm starting off with, quite honestly, one of my least favorite athletes of all time. That would be Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback Tom Brady. He actually did not play this week because it's the week in between the championship games and the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But we got the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday, February 7th. So that'll be obviously, of course, an exciting game. We'll talk touch on that a little bit later as well.
Yeah.
But at 43, moving to a new team, historically one of the worst teams, at least in the past 5 years, Tom Brady's taking this team to a Super Bowl, which in my mind is just, it's insane. I still don't like him. That's never going to change. But I mean, you can't knock him. It's
Yeah.
that's just like unheard of. He's playing at one. He's got to be one of the oldest quarterbacks to ever play, and
Oh, I'm sure.
still playing at a very high level.
Yeah.
He looks like third in the league in passing yards, second only to Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes, the reigning Super Bowl champion and MVP 2 years ago. If you go ahead and look at the touchdowns, he was once again third, I believe, in the league.
Fantastic.
Second only, or behind only, Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. Actually behind Aaron Rodgers and tied with Russell Wilson. If you go ahead and look at his completion percentage, probably once again going to be up there actually completion percentage is a rough stat to look at because we'll get into that later. That's unimportant. But
I have a question for you, actually.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're not alone, and I don't know if you hate Tom Brady, but you dislike him to say the least. Why is that? Like, I get not liking people who are really good, but like, what's your reasoning behind that? Like, can't you just respect him for who he is, being like one of the best quarterbacks of all time?
Oh, 100%. I definitely have respect for him and being able to play at such a high level. If you compare the first 10 years of his career to the second 10, he's even in almost every single category, but has, I think, one more Pro Bowl appearance in the second half of his career. He's unbelievable. I have nothing but respect for him, but as a player, I have nothing but respect for him. I don't know. You're definitely right about this definitely has something to do with not liking him because he wins a lot.
That's fair. That's a fair thing. You're not alone.
And so that definitely plays into it. I mean, there's some scandals over the years, but at the end of the day, how much of a role did he play in those? Who knows?
We'll never know.
But definitely just at this point, I especially after this year, I have more respect for him than I definitely than I did before, just because he's able to continue to play at such a high level. Actually, I have just a couple quick, unbelievable facts. This is Tom Brady's first time as an underdog in the Super Bowl since 2002, which was like his second Super Bowl, and now he's in his 10th. So I think that's pretty crazy. And in the Super Bowl era, there have been 525 playoff games. Tom Brady has played in 45 of those 525 playoff games. He's played in over 8.5% of all playoff games in the Super Bowl era, which is some 50, 60 years at this point, which I just think that's incredible.
Yeah, that's mine.
I mean, undoubtedly, whether or not you think he's the best, he definitely has the most unbelievable legacy of anyone to ever pick up a football, and I can't see anyone coming close to touching that. So how about we shift it over to you? Who do you have this week for your player profile?
All right, my guy is Damian Lillard. All right, and I'm not a huge basketball guy, as I said earlier. I've watched about one basketball game this season, and it was the Bulls against the Trailblazers. And Lillard was having a great game. Just a little quick summary about who he is. Rookie of the Year in 2013, 5-time All-Star. Great guy. Definitely going to be a Hall of Famer for sure, in my opinion. So the game, I think I have no idea, to be honest. I really don't even know that much about him, so that was kind of just improv. I hope that's not wrong. Moving on. Is that wrong to say he's a future Hall of Famer, Jonah?
I mean, he hasn't. I think he'd need to win a championship. I mean, you could. I don't know. I think he'd have to win a championship to be a Hall of Famer. I also don't know how much. I don't know much about how getting in the Hall of Fame in the NBA works. I mean, if it's anything similar to the to the NFL,
Yeah.
I think he'd have to win a championship because yeah, he can be great and be top 10 in all these different categories, but if you can't lead a team to a championship, I don't know how it's a hard argument to make. And
Yeah.
additionally, you can't really say he hasn't had help. I mean, he's had CJ McCollum there for the past however many years, and that should be one of the best duos in the league. But
Yeah.
they haven't been able to get past. Granted, they had to play against the Warriors in the playoffs and the Thunder and some of those great Big Three teams. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry, I kind of cut you off there. But.
No, you're good. I mean, to be honest, didn't know most of the players you just said there. So, I got some morning to do. Basketball is not my thing, mainly baseball. But I will tell you about what stood out to me on the game last Saturday. I think that was December. No, my bad.
December?
That was last year, January 30th. All right, so they were playing the Bulls. That was the only reason why I was watching the game, and it was a very good game. I think the Bulls at one point had like a 19-point lead, and then they blew it. And then in the fourth quarter, they kind of they took the lead again. But Lillard was absolutely amazing. He had 44 points that game, 8 3-pointers, which I think that's 24 points. So there's some quick math for you. So in the sick in the third quarter, he had back-to-back threes, which on its own is not that impressive. I mean, it's cool, but the second though was 33 feet, which looks very impressive. The confidence you have to even attempt a shot like that. Let's just put it this way: I would never do that. So the cool story that behind this is, when I was watching Damian Lillard, being the professional basketball scout I am, I knew he was on a hot streak that game, and he was going to do something special. So I think they were down by 1 or 2, I don't know. And there was 1 second left in the game. And a couple minutes earlier, I told my dad, look, Damian Lillard, if he gets the ball, he's going to make a game-winning 3. And then he's like, I don't think so. I think the Bulls have this in the bag. But what a surprise. I was right. Here's the thing. Obviously, as a Bulls fan, that's not very fun to watch. But I think watching any buzzer beater is cool, especially if you're not connected to the game a ton. Like, I wouldn't call myself an active basketball fan. I don't know about you, but I just think it's cool to see moments like that. And I think the cool thing about basketball is there's so many good players on so many different teams. You can have your favorite players on different teams, and you can have respect and look up to certain players, even if they're on different teams. So Damian Lillard, definitely someone I look up to as in the clutch and athletic guys. So we're let's move on to some current events that are kind of going on right now. We can tie it back really quickly to the Super Bowl, because that's probably the big thing that's going on in the sports world right now for sure. So you want to kind of give a quick, what do you think is going to happen? What are your predictions?
I think it's hard to say. This year, I have doubted the Tampa Bay Buccaneers the entire season. The Vikings, I know, hate to make it about the Vikings. We went 7-9, not the season I had pictured. The Vikings outplayed the Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. The only reason we lost that game, I know you Bears fans, you Packers fans, whoever, if you're not a Vikings fan, you're going to say I'm just salty. Definitely am. Definitely played into it. But the refereeing in that game, the officials were just awful. One of the worst games I've ever seen, and I literally only saw 2 quarters. And that game alone proved to me that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not that good. Okay. They almost lost to the Vikings. Scoreboard doesn't show it, but if you actually were to sit down and watch that game, it was way closer than the score says. I definitely think, and I think the Chiefs went, I believe, 14-2. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, once again, had an unbelievable year. The only reason he's not going to win MVP is because Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and that's about it. I mean, Patrick Mahomes had another MVP caliber season. He probably will continue to be in the conversation for MVP every year for the next 10 years.
Probably.
And so I think the Chiefs are going to win. We'll see. It depends on if Tom can play. I don't know if Tom can play the way He has all season. I mean, I definitely think he surprised a lot of people this year, myself included. Mainly myself, I would say.
Yeah,
I didn't think he had it in him to take a team. I thought he was going to Tampa to retire. He might eventually retire there, but not anytime soon. It doesn't look
that's for
like
sure.
so.
Yeah,
I definitely think it's going to be a shootout, but I'm looking forward to the game for sure.
I'm gonna keep it brief. I think I want Tampa to win. I just like Brady. I know you don't, but I like him. Tampa wins 24-17. That's my final prediction.
24-17. If I had to put a score on it, number one, I think it's going to be higher scoring than that, but
I think
I'll take
all
the
right.
Chiefs. I'll take the Chiefs 38-34.
I'll bet you 50,000 Dogecoin. That's like what, 5 cents or something like that. Okay, now you see what I did there. Now we're transitioning into the stock market. And that sounds pretty boring, but it's not because it involves GameStop and a lot of money, which I know is something many teenagers are interested in. So I don't know if those of you have been paying attention to the news, Jonah. I'm sure you've heard this. We talked about it a little bit, but GameStop has had quite a month. The stock, the company is still struggling. It's a failure at this point. It's going to go bankrupt. Actually, that's a topic for another time. But for those of you who don't know, this group of subredditors, this subreddit called Wall Street Bets on Reddit, filled with millions of teenagers with lots of money to waste and gamble. They decided they were just going to buy a ton of GameStop stock because it's extremely heavily shorted by institutions. So they pumped the price up, making lots of normal everyday people millionaires. And then the controversy was some of the brokerage like Robinhood prevented people from buying these stocks like GameStop, AMC, Nokia, BlackBerry. What are your thoughts on what are your reactions to it happening, the whole situation in the first place, and the brokerage is stopping people from being able to buy at such a vital moment in the short squeeze?
Yeah. As I mean, I don't know nearly as much as you do on the as in terms of the market. I definitely looked into it a little bit. I think number one, I'm surprised it took something like this to I'm surprised it took this long to have something like this happen.
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't seem like that complex of an idea, and if it
It's
was able to
definitely
happen in a couple of days, I'm very surprised that more hasn't happened like that. Granted, when you have, I mean, Robinhood, my understanding is it's pretty much completely free, right?
Yeah, it's commission-free trading, which is why
So
it's attractive
I don't
to
know. At face value, it seems like what they did was wrong. I think at the end of the day, it should be a free market. But then at the same time, they are a private business, and they have. I do believe, and also I'm sure they have things protecting them to be allowed to do this thing in their terms and service that most people probably don't read.
That's for
And
sure.
so at the end of the day, they're a private business, and they can pretty much do what they want to restrict the sales. And at the end of the day, if I could be wrong in this, but if it went too far, it could have meant much worse things for the market as a whole.
I get what you're saying, and definitely, I understand Robinhood's a private company, and private companies should be able to do whatever they want to a certain extent. But it gets a little tricky when you're talking about brokerages and they're handling people's money, and if they're doing things that hurt retail investors and help institutional investors like hedge funds, that's definitely wrong. And in terms of who's at fault here, in terms of it was like the market makers or Robinhood themselves, I'm not sure, but I think everyone's talking about how this might change investing forever, but I don't think it's going to actually seriously impact the market. Like it's like five stocks. It's like GameStop, AMC, Nokia. Like there's thousands upon thousands of stocks. Most stocks don't trade on hype and like Reddit, like to the moon, like YOLOing your money away. So I think the whole market as a whole is going to be fine. I just think this is a fad. If any legislation gets passed by Congress, I have no idea. I don't think anything's going to change. The price of GameStop's plummeted. It reached almost like, I want to say 500, and now I think the last time I checked, it's below 100. So I think I think the hype is over. They're moving on to things like, Dogecoin. We talk about that, a worthless cryptocurrency. They like to pump that every once in a while because it's so cheap. But yeah, I don't think too much of it. It's definitely a fun thing to watch, normal people getting rich, but I don't think it'll impact the market as a whole. So with that said, we are going to be moving on to the final segment we have of the show. It's something called quick takes, which is when we exchange some kind of hypothetical situations, and the other person just kind of gives their quick reaction or quick take. See what we did there? To the very clever to the thing. So Jonah, do you have any quick takes for me?
All right. So, I don't know. I think there's a lot of different ways we can go with this, and I think that's kind of the point. Just to have just random, not necessarily specific. Doesn't have to be a specific topic.
Yeah.
I have one in mind. Not sure how much you'd understand it, but we'll go with the Bears because I feel like you know the Bears a little bit better than the rest of the NFL.
Hopefully, I don't embarrass myself here. We'll see.
So this is my quick take. The
Okay.
Bears trade signing. So they're gonna franchise tag Allen Robinson, who's their only offensive weapon.
Okay.
I said it. And
Is that
and so they're
controversial
gonna.
or something? I have no idea.
I mean, people would probably say David Montgomery. Oh no,
Well,
what's he
it's
gonna do?
your show. You can say whatever you want. So
Exactly. And so they're gonna franchise tag Allen Robinson, and then I think they have to get rid of Eddie Jackson.
okay.
At least Eddie Jackson. Khalil Mack is on the downfall. Said that too. I'll own it. I don't care.
All right. What's the hypothetical though? That's the question.
So franchise tag Allen Robinson, pair him with Eddie Jackson, and potentially another young defensive player.
Okay.
A first this year and a first next year for Deshaun Watson, and I don't know. Let's go Texans second this year.
All right. That was a lot of fancy technical football language. I didn't understand, let's say, about 95% of it.
Okay, then how about I hit you with a different one then?
Sure. I would just say to that, I don't know, but the Bears need a new coach. That's all I'm saying. So
We'll see what the audience says. I don't know. Maybe we'll put a poll up and see if what I just said is crazy. I mean, in Bears country, it might get me attacked. Who knows? But anyways, okay, let's go with another one.
Make this one better. No, I'm just kidding.
Shoot, I don't. Sports is definitely the.
It doesn't have to be
way I
sports.
think.
It can be like literally anything.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. Do you have one in mind? Maybe I think about it for a second. And you have one in mind for me?
Let me try to come up with one off the cuff here. So, well, you put me on the spot. This is kind of a cliche one, but I want to try to give us an interesting answer. So, if you were on a deserted island and only had 3 things, what would you take with you and why? Make it funny, please.
Can't make it too funny.
All right, good point. Make it funny enough that is allowable.
So, I don't know. I'd say, are we talking like food or literally anything?
Literally anything. The sky's the limit at this point.
Okay. Oh boy. What? I mean, I'm on an island, so I can fish. So I have to bring a fishing rod.
All right, I like your thinking there.
I'm assuming the whole there's no power, no electricity, or any of that. So a phone or PlayStation that's pretty much useless.
Okay.
Is that a fair assumption?
Sure. I mean, you can take it however you want. I mean, there could be.
Well, if there's electricity there, then I'm bringing a console or at least a phone.
Okay.
So we got a fishing rod, a phone, assuming there's electricity, and then I need a friend. I'll leave it at that.
All right. We'll leave that up to interpretation. I know what you're talking about, but I'll leave that up to interpretation. Okay. Did that give you time to think of a hypothetical? I could answer the same one if you want, or if you have a.
Okay, yeah, just go ahead. We'll that'll be it for week 1 with quick takes. You go and answer the same question.
All right. Let me On a desert island. Um, Definitely with you on taking someone. I don't know who, but definitely somebody.
Yeah.
That was pretty general. What else?
No, but at some point you just need human interaction. Honestly, doesn't matter who. I mean, don't
Yeah,
take your like
I mean,
arch
preferably
enemy, but
someone I'd very much enjoy spending time with. Um, but aside from that, let's see. Definitely food. I don't know why you didn't say food. I'd probably
it's an island. There's got to be natural food there,
yeah,
like
but
coconuts and stuff.
sure, whatever. You know how hard it is to open up whatever. I'm not gonna start talking about that. I take
There's rocks.
yes, I take lots of water.
Oh, I need a water purifier. Dang it.
You can't take it back. You're gonna
I
die.
know. I'm gonna die now.
I don't know. A friend or yes, a friend. Water, and let's say um a boombox. You gotta listen to music. You gotta listen to me. I don't know if anyone uses a boombox anymore. I don't even know what that is really, but I think it plays music. So we'll get some Drake or some Khalid going and dance to that on the island alone. Not alone, I guess, but with someone. So I
Yeah,
think
someone's
that's
there, right?
yeah. I think that's gonna be it for this. I mean that that was awesome. We had a blast. Definitely got to
It
work
was a
some
great
things.
start. Yeah,
Got any closing thoughts or statements there, buddy?
uh, I don't know. I feel like we kind of went off the rails here at the end. I I hope it goes out the way we recorded it.
Yeah,
I
for
think it'll be a
sure.
very entertaining first episode for our audience. A lot to think about. A lot that we kind of were all over the place, and I think going forward we'll definitely have some more focused topics. Maybe hopefully we'll get on some guests. I think that'd be
Sure.
really cool.
We got
Get
some
some,
fun ones in the works,
yeah.
potentially.
Hopefully we'll have some pretty cool guests on to bring
Yeah.
to you guys listening wherever you're listening. Hopefully this should be going out on
Soon.
Spotify within the next couple days. So today is February 4th. So that'll be hopefully it could go
Yeah.
out in the next couple days.
Definitely before the Super Bowl, so we can see that I was right.
Yeah, and yeah, thank you guys for listening. Hopefully we will have an episode. Hopefully this episode will be out soon in the next couple days, and then
Yeah.
potentially one in the next 2 weeks, hopefully. So I think that's hopefully what we're aiming to do is get one out at least every
Yeah.
2 weeks. So
Sure. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. This has been Excedra, and we're gonna sign off.